Ahoy there, Captain Benzie here, coming at you with another video from inside the EVE Echoes final test. Now today, as a response to a popular request, I thought I'd throw together a quick little guide to getting started as a Minmatar pilot, hence I'm sitting in one of my favourite ships, the Rifter. I say favourite, actually, in EVE Echoes it's not a particularly great ship now, but we'll come into that in just a moment. This video is going to cover how to get started as a combat or ratting PvE pilot in EVE Echoes if you're starting as Minmatar. Now before we jump in though, if you do enjoy this video, let me know by hitting like on it, consider subscribing to the channel for all things EVE Echoes, and ding that notification bell so that you know when the next video goes live. If you've got a topic you want me to cover, a ship you want me to look at, a question you want answered, that kind of thing, let me know in the comment section down below, come find me on social media, or come join the Catskull Cartel Discord, or indeed, do all three. That Discord does have some public channels that are open for anyone to talk about all things EVE Echoes, and a really friendly bunch of guys who are happy to help in any way that they can. Speaking of help as well, if you want to go the extra mile to help support this channel, you can do so by coming across to Patreon and pledging to support. It is a huge help. Every single dollar, every single pledge helps out massively, and I'm always incredibly humbled by each and every one of those that I receive. So thank you all so much. Alright, so today, as I said, we are looking at how to get started as a PvE combat pilot or a ratter in EVE Echoes with Minmatar. Now, when you start off as a Minmatar pilot, you're going to be given a slasher, a couple of civilian autocannons, taught the ropes of the game, and eventually you will be given the opportunity to buy your first Rifter. Now, a Rifter is a tier 2 frigate. It's not a great little thing. And EVE Online, these are one of my favourite ships. They are super cheap, they are super versatile, and you can actually make them incredibly powerful. Here in EVE Echoes, sadly, that is not the case. Tier 2 tech level 2 frigate, 2 high slots, 3 low slots. That's it. No rigs, no mids, nothing. If you look at it though, you do get a little bit of a bonus here for frigate command of 5% small cannon damage, obviously up to 25% if you max that skill, and a 5% small cannon accuracy fall off, so extra damage and extra range. Otherwise, its stats are definitely better than the Slasher. You get a bit more power grid, better warp speed, better flight velocity, that kind of thing. Straight up and down, better defense. It's going to be more survivable. Now, I've kitted this one out using just Mark III equipment, kind of stuff you're likely to have at that point in the game. Mark III small autocannons, these have an activation time of 4 seconds and a very short range, 1 kilometer optimal range, up to an accuracy fall-off of near 8 kilometers. So you're going to be wanting to be in about the 5 to 10 kilometer margin using these. You could go for strike cannons, but the damage is so much lower that you're not really going to use it, and I'm going to show you how to pilot this thing properly in a moment anyway. A Mark III small afterburner, again, is just a great little way of keeping this ship moving at some speed. 141% flight velocity just means you're going to be taking less damage as you're whizzing around. And speaking of damage, this is a shield tank ship, so I've popped on a Mark III small shield booster for repairing any shield that you have. Obviously, that 66 shield repaired every 3.6 seconds with that active. And a Mark III small shield extender, which increases the shield by 442 as standard. Then when you activate it, gives you an additional 442 upon activation, which is always really quite nice. Now, looking at this, that gives me an offensive DPS of 62.03 and a defense of 2121. Oh, yay, money came in. I like it when money comes in. That's 965 on shield, 470 on armor, and 422 on structure, which means once you start taking armor damage, you are going to want to start thinking about getting out of there, because you're not going to have much time. Now, sadly, this is not capacitor stable at this point. That means if I have everything running, then my capacitor is going to run dry in about 54 seconds. And as you can see, at optimal, it will recharge at about 172 seconds, which isn't great. This is not a great ship, but it is the best you are going to have early on as a Minmatar pilot. So I'm going to undock with it now. We're going to jump into a tier 2 anomaly just to showcase what you do with this, how you can make it work, and just how you can keep going. From there on as well, we will talk about what skills you want to look at, increasing beyond this point, and what ships you would move into next. So let's go into the cosmic anomalies. There should be a level 2 small around here. There it is. So, Angel Small, we're going to warp in at a distance of about 20 kilometers, just so we've got a bit of breathing space, and while we do so, let's stack those cannons, because we want them both firing at the same thing, and I'm just going to neaten things up. I like to have it like that so I can see what I'm doing. Anyway, so the Rifter warps in. Now you can see I'm doing this in nullsec. If you're doing this kind of thing in nullsec, you're going to want to keep your overview open, because like now you can see we've got an invader. That is not one of the Catskill Cartel guys. I'm worried that might be one of the guys from JR. So see if I can open some details there. I'm just going to keep an eye open. Anyway, we come out into the anomaly. We can see that we've got a Rifter and a Slasher. Now I know from experience that the Rifter is the bigger threat there. I'm going to open this, I'm going to set the approach, and I want the approach to be around about 5 kilometers. Sorry, I meant to set an orbit. I want the orbit to be around about 5 kilometers, because that's where my optimal range is going to be. I'm then going to put the afterburner on, which will get me in there quicker. You can see now the speed of the ship has shot up to over 1,000 meters per second, still climbing. I can now activate my turret as I'm within the 10-kilometer range, and I will start doing some damage whilst orbiting. Orbiting isn't what you always want to do, but certainly in this situation with the Rifter early on, it's probably your best. And you can see there's the enemy Rifter, Gisty Rifter, taking some rather heavy damage from those turrets. Down goes that first one. Automatically, I'll move across to the Slasher. I can just hit orbit again. 1 kilometer is a bit close, didn't mean to do that. I actually only meant to tap on it. So let's go down to the 5 kilometer margin there and just start orbiting. My guns are going to automatically go across there. You can see I'm taking almost no damage at all. I don't need to worry about putting on any of my shield boosters or any effects there. 2 new ships come in. Let's orbit around the first one, the Rifter. Again, the Rifter is the bigger threat, so let's come out there. I'm going to reset the camera so you can see my Rifter, the enemy Rifter. It should be in the middle of where I'm curving at the moment. There it is. There it is. Turrets have deactivated. Make sure you keep an eye on your turrets, make sure they activate properly. Let's try and keep a camera there. Anyway, so that's going to do some little damage there. Take it apart fairly quickly. At the end of this wave, I'm going to come out back and go up to the next ship, because we're going to have a look at how you progress from here. But let's get that Rifter down first of all, and then we'll come back from there. Okay, one more salvo. We'll take out that Rifter, turn off the turrets and guns. Let us warp back to the station, dock up, and we're going to have a look at where we upgrade from here. So once you've started out with a Rifter, where do you go from there? Well, let's look at the Minmatar ship tree. Basically, we've got the Rifter here at Tech 2, and you can see that it's not a great ship, but it will get you started. Obviously, when we come up to Tech 3, what else do we have in frigates? We've got the Breacher, which is no longer a cannon ship, it's now a missile boat. And let's be completely honest, if it's a toss-up between a Tech 3 Breacher or a Tech 3 Kestrel, and you're going missiles, you're gonna go for the Kestrel. The Kestrel is just downright a better missile boat than the Breacher is. It's just, it can kite a lot better, and kiting makes the Kestrel king. The Breacher's not terrible. I mean, the shield booster amount does help a little bit, but the Kestrel is just flat out better. So once you hit tier 3, if you're a missile player, you're going to go for a Kestrel, not a Breacher. The other Tech 3 you have as Minmatar is a probe. Scan resolution, signature radius, not helpful. Tech 4, we get the Slasher 2, which again is not really a damage ship at all. It does get a couple of bonuses to frigate command. You could therefore skill into frigate command early and get the bonuses then into a Slasher 2 once you hit Tech 4, but we're already at Tech 4. In fact, it's only really once basically you hit Tech 6 that you start getting some decent combat ships, if not even Tech 7 for the Breacher Assault in Minmatar. For cannons, though, ultimately your option once you hit Tech 3 is to go across into destroyers and look at the Thrasher, the 3-Guild Belt Shark. These things are great at prowling asteroid belts and just doing a little bit of extra damage to miners. Great way to start out ratting as well. They've got some really nice bonuses. First of all, you've got up to 3 turrets with one of these things. That's already increasing your DPS by 50%. You've gone from having 2 up to 3. You then get your 2 mid slots and 3 low slots. The roll bonus of 25% small cannon optimal range just means you can fire from a slightly further distance, and then small cannon operation will give you additional bonuses to damage. Now, ultimately, you could go into destroyer command bonus for the flight velocity, but it's not really important. Now, what I'm getting at here is that at tier 3, going from tier 2 with the Rifter up to tier 3, ultimately there is no real point to training into the Rifter's bonuses. You've got frigate command there, small 5% cannon damage, small cannon accuracy fall off. It's not going to be much, and you're not going to be in Tech 2 for long enough to warrant that. So what do you do starting off as a Minmatar pilot? Well, you look for the skills that are going to benefit you overall, and those are, of course, under your weapon technology for small cannons. I would take small cannon operation straight up to 4, because a level 4 small cannon operation is going to give you 16% small cannon damage and 6% small cannon tracking speed. That's on any ship fitted with them. Take that up to Tech 4 before taking and move on to other things. Don't go to Tech 5 until you've started getting other skills up as well. Because again, if we have a look at how many points it takes to go from tech skill level 1 to 4, that is less than it takes to go from 4 to 5, and it's only a small bonus from 4 to 5. So get the skill to 4, then go off and train some other things, such as small cannon upgrade. Small cannon upgrade, again, to tier 4, would give you small cannon damage of 12%, accuracy fall off additional 12%, and the optimal range of 5%. That's just always going to be useful if you're using cannons. I've obviously gone into advanced small cannon operation since then. Don't worry about that. Get small and upgrade and small operation, both to 4. Then look at some other skills. Other skills, again, you could look into Destroyer Command for the bonuses, not really necessary. I would instead look at Afterburner. Afterburner gives you additional, it makes your basically makes your Afterburner better. It reduces the capacitor requirement and increases the activation time so that you don't actually have to pay to use your Afterburner as frequently, and it just makes it better. It makes it 10% faster, which is always nice. Afterburners are always useful. Shields, again, you're going to be using shields, so have a look at something like shield operation, taking that up to perhaps skill level 4 for the shield booster activation time and capacity need reduction, just to give you the extra shield tanking skills. Again, not necessary, you don't really necessarily need these, but it is helpful. Shield hardening you could do as well for the reactive shield hardener if you're using those, but I wouldn't worry about it. Destroy defense upgrade, not overly important at this point in time. Engineering, again, it's too specific. You're ultimately going to want to focus just on getting your cannons increased. Get the cannons increased, that gives you a staging point for being at Tech 3. Now, after you hit Tech 3 as well, you're going to start climbing up there. The Thrasher 2 is what we're aiming for here as a PvPer, and again, you can see small cannon operation still affects the ship. Destroyer Command gives you flight velocity. It's not necessary to go into anything else. Ultimately, by sticking with small cannons, you're going to make these ships considerably better at ratting with. So let's actually have a look at the Thrasher and take one of these out and do a little bit of flying with it, see how this works in the same one we were in a moment ago, same anomaly we were in just a moment ago. See how this one copes, and then we'll have a look at the Thrasher 2 as well. So just while we're out here as well, quick look at the fitting and how I've put this one. I've actually put strike cannons on here just to give it a bit of extra range and fire from distance. Otherwise, we're looking at Mark 5 small shield booster, Mark 5 small afterburner, and a Mark 5 small shield extender for the same reasons as with the Rifter. As I said, I've just gone for the extra range of a small strike cannon. Ultimately, these are considerably lower DPS than the autocannons, but it's just to showcase what you can do with one of these. So let's go into the Cosmic Anomalies there. What do we have? Angel Small 2, there it is. Oh, we actually got an Angel Small 3. Now this time, I'm going to warp in at 28 kilometers distance, because if we open up the strikes, you'll see these have an optimal range of 11 with an accuracy fall-off of 10. So they've theoretically got a 50% effectiveness range of 21 kilometers, 22 actually, I think it's pretty much 22 there, and an optimal range of 10. Let's stack these up nicely whilst we're moving. There we go, that feels nicer. I like having that organised. So now that we've got a bit of range, again, same procedure as before. We are going to lock onto the Gisty Slasher. We are going to orbit at our optimal range of about 10 kilometers, should be plenty, a little bit over just to get us the tracking, because these track slower, and start firing. You'll see I'll actually be able to hit this from this distance with the Thrasher. Ultimately, again, it's the fact that you've got 3 turrets, it's a massive DPS increase, like in general, and I can stay at a longer range and do some real damage with it. Ultimately, that's the bonus there, and I think that actually has, annoyingly, ended the small anomaly. So let's jump up into the small anomaly 3 and have a look at that one as well. Now, I've just warped in at standard range here, because I want to show the afterburner and what happens if you have a ship a little bit too close to you. Now, obviously, you won't be pulling the exact same DPS as I'm pulling at this point in time, because I've got the skills trained higher, and in other things as well that do affect my cannon damage, but it should give you a basic idea of what's going on. And there we are, we've got a Thrasher and a Breacher. Both are fairly up close and personal. I would rather be a little bit further out on the orbit there. So let's put the afterburner on, set the orbit, and already again that's full, the shield's gone in one hit. I'm moving away at nearly 1,000 meters per second. We're going to get the second firing there. Boom. There goes nearly all of the armor. Now we're a little bit further out. Bam. There goes down the hull. Pretty much dead. These things do take a lot longer to activate though. I'm orbiting a lot further out than I want to be. Again, let's get down to 13 kilometers. Happy there with the Gisty Breacher. Let's observe the Gisty Breacher getting blown away, because some people have said that they would rather see the ships get destroyed rather than just me whizzing around in orbit. And I feel nice and safe watching this. I know how to get out of here nice and quickly. There we go, one more shot and that Gisty Breacher should go down. You see it very comfortably dealing with a Tier 3 anomaly here, using this ship. Tech 3 ship, Tech 3 anomaly. It is what you would expect. But let's head back to station, swap across to a Thrasher 2, which I'm going to have equipped with the autocannons, because that's going to be your next step up, going from a Thrasher to a Thrasher 2. If you've been watching this channel since back in the OBT, you will recognise the Thrasher 2 well, because this was a ship that I spent a lot of time in the last beta. It's one of my favourite ships, I love it to pieces, and I just wanted to showcase now that all those skills that you're putting into the small cannon operation, those aren't wasted once you hit cruiser or battle cruiser or anything beyond that. You guys know I love my frigates, I love my destroyers, I love my small ships. Ultimately, you'll see that now, once I've upgraded, because I'm going into those kind of skills, so let's have a look at my actual skill tree. Under cruising technology, I've got things like frigate command and advanced frigate command. I've gone for destroyer and advanced destroyer command, and those are skills I'll be going for in live. I've gone for afterburner and micro warp drive operation, because again, those are both very useful on your frigates, though that does affect beyond as well, same with shield operation. But under defense upgrades, frigate and destroyer defense upgrades are both in place there. Again, skills that I will go for just because extra shield, armor, and structure. Yes, please. Engineering on both of those is at maximum, along with a couple of things like electronic warfare and target management, just to help out both. Under cannons, though, of course, I have small cannon operation and advanced small cannon operation maxed out, and I've nearly maxed out advanced small cannon upgrade as well. Again, those will be skills that I go for in live. They affect things like the Dromiel. They help. I can start training them early on because they will help with things like the Rifters. And yeah, when I come up to something like the Thrasher 2, let's have a look at this. This is a ludicrously cheap ship. Ultimately, this entire ship you can pick up dead cheap off the market. They're very easy to build. The blueprints are dead easy to reverse engineer, and the ship itself is very cheap to manufacture. Now, with 4 decent turrets, I've got in 4 Republic Fleet small autocannons here, which again can be farmed nice and easily in Angel Cartel space. That's 220 DPS that I'm kicking out at the moment. The low slots, again, I've just gone for a Mark V gyro stabilizer, nothing fancy. Republic Fleet small shield extender. Hey, because this thing gives you that extra 568 shields, 569 standard and 568 when activated additional, and a Mark 9 small afterburner, just to keep it nice and speedy. I've put some cheap rigs on here as well. I've gone for a collision accelerator for the flat-out damage increase, and a burst aerator for even more activation time adjustment down, so these fire that little bit faster. In the low slot, again, I've gone for an ancillary power grid router currently, just because when I put strikes on, I almost run out of ability to put in mids. For mids, I would go for a warp disruptor or 2, maybe a web of fire as well. Again, I want to be up close and personal. This is a capacitor-stable ship. It costs peanuts to make, it's 220 DPS, capacitor stable, with a good defense and a fast speed. In fact, if I undock this and come out of the station so that I can show you the difference between cold and hot. And hot, obviously, it's me using the abilities, me putting the afterburner on, but it is cap stable, so I can quite comfortably do so. So let's zoom in to get a nice shot there. Got 2 UFOs in system, so I do need to be careful that I don't get blown out of space here. Cool, I recognise one of those, we should be okay. Ultimately, if I put the afterburner on and the gyro stabilizer, you will see, and let's pop the shield on as well, we do shoot now up to 264 DPS, so it's an extra 45 DPS almost. The defense has gone up a little bit, and the speed now is at over 1,000 meters per second, which makes me surprisingly difficult to hit. This Thrasher 2 can comfortably do anything up to Tier 5 anomalies on its own, With strike cannons, you can do a little bit further than that, and ultimately in a fleet, the damage that these things can put out is insane. Put a burst frigate behind you to help keep you alive, and you will do astonishingly well with these. Anyway, folks, that does just about wrap up everything I wanted to say about getting started with cannons, starting off with the Minmatar Rifter, going from there up through the Thrasher to the Thrasher 2. From here, ultimately, the ship tree is up to you. You might decide that you want to continue up destroyers and frigates. There are other cannon frigates you might like, things like the Slasher Interceptor. If you've watched my video on interceptors, you'll know the kind of crazy stuff you can do there. You would need to then start looking into frigate command, and you're getting into a much more intensive role. Same with if you go higher in the destroyer tree, you're going to be looking at like the Thrasher 2s, Interdictors, Thrasher 2 Assault, that kind of thing for your cannon damage as well, and you'll start looking into additional skills here, as you can see. Basically, find a ship you like and then skill into it from there. The small cannon skills are going to be useful no matter what. Beyond that as well, as you obviously know, it's not just the Minmatar that get the turrets there. If you come into Dramiel in Angel Cartel, that again gets massive increases for advanced small cannon operation, right the way up the wazoo. You've seen the damage that this thing can do. Ultimately, that's my path. I go up through the Minmatar frigates and destroyers, and then end up in Angel Cartel territory, at which point I can then spread outwards into the other frigates as well. I can start looking at different things like E-War, Capacitor, just little bits and pieces to start plugging into my basic skill tree. Those turret skills give me a solid ground to work from there. I don't go up into cruiser, so I don't need to worry about going up to medium turrets. I can stick with the smalls. I can then decide, actually, I'm really enjoying, say, destroyers. I can start adding laser turrets, or missiles, or drones, or whatever, based on what ship I want to. I've made a minimal skill point investment at the start with the cannons. Nice and easy to then shoot on from there. Anyway, folks, I hope that has given you some inspiration of where to go as a Minmatar pilot starting out, gives you a basic idea of what to look for, what skills to train, and where to go from there, and what can be expected of you. I love the Thrashers, I love my cannon frigates. You've all seen that now in videos. Hopefully, you'll get out there and give it a try too, come live. Otherwise, folks, let me know how you get on in this beta. Let me know what you've thought of it all. Let me know what you're going to be skilling into in live. Happy sailing, and see you in New Eden.